Welcome back to Viewpoint. I'm James Zogby. My next guest is His Excellency Jawad. He's Afghanistan Ambassador to the United States since December 2003. He also is Afghanistan's non-resident ambassador to Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, and Argentina. He served as President Karzai's press secretary, chief of staff, and principal liaison during the drafting of the Afghan constitution, and was involved in the rebuilding of many of that country's national institutions, including the Afghan National Army. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
I want to just begin, if I could, asking you, you're following the debate here in the United States. How concerned are you by the debate as it is taking place? We're going to be entering the 9th year of the war, and the public is seeming to get, their patience is getting frayed a bit. I put some poll numbers up about the partisan split, but let's look at the overall numbers on where the public is right now and whether there should be an increase in troops. 39 increase, 33 decrease, and keep the same 19. That's not an overwhelming support for something like General McChrystal's proposal for 40,000 new troops. It's a tough decision the president has to make, given where the public opinion is right now. What are you seeing in that public debate, and does it concern you?
Yes, of course it concerns me. It concerns me not only for the fact that it affects the number of the troops in Afghanistan, but also for the long-term safety and security of our region in the United States. I'm surprised how quickly people have gone back to the mindset of September 10th. In the United States, the threat of terrorism is real and is serious. What's going on in Afghanistan is not just for the sake of stability in Afghanistan. It affects the region, it affects the United States. And those soldiers who are going to Afghanistan and fighting in Afghanistan are taking a big sacrifice to make Afghanistan, the region, and the world a safer place. And that's why it's a tough decision.
But you understand that we're entering the 9th year, and they're not seeing progress on the ground. In fact, what they're seeing is a deterioration of a situation with the problem of al-Qaeda spilling across the border back into Pakistan, Taliban resurgent, etc. Let me talk about a couple of other problems. First is this issue of the legitimacy of the government, which has been called into question by an election that many people feel, and the reports that are out, was, let me say, be kind and say, was complicated. Not the best election in the world. I think everyone understands that. And the reports of fraud, fairly widespread. What do you say in regard to that concern that people say we're supporting a government that is not legitimate because the election was not a good election?
No, it was a very difficult election under very difficult conditions. It could have not been, and the best scenario, the best election in the world, even not in the region. It is, Afghanistan is at war. The people who went out to participate in the voting process had their fingers cut. They were killed. So, considering the constraint that we face, that election was as good as it could have been in Afghanistan. And if you have a runoff, you have a second election, it will not be very different from what we had. And in the question of legitimacy, that should be determined by the Afghan people.
But the stuffing of ballot boxes and the reports that we saw, some of them, I mean, more people voting than actually live in a particular region, those were serious issues.
These are serious issues, and one important reason for that was lack of security. That's why we need you to be there. That's why we're working to build this institution. So a lot of the irregularities and allegations of the fraud took place in the areas where there was less security. And the international observers, Afghan observers, could not go there.
We are told that one of the decisions that may come up is to invalidate the 54% received by President Karzai and declare that a runoff is necessary between him and Abdullah, who finished second, former foreign minister of the country. You today, speaking at the U.S. Institute for Peace, in fact said that you thought a runoff was likely. That is not a position that your government has declared. Tell me what your feeling is, why you feel that a runoff will occur, or even why it should occur.
No, first we have to let this process to be completed, for the complaints to be educated. And the results could be two ways. Either President Karzai will maintain the 50% majority and it will be the president. The other likelihood, and that's what I said, the other likelihood is that there will be a runoff because of the total of votes of President Karzai fell beyond 50%. And if this is the case, then we are facing a more complicated situation. We have to prepare for the runoff within 2 to 4 weeks. Otherwise, the winter would sit
So
there.
you're not saying that a runoff should occur?
No, no, no. That's a likelihood. No, no. This is up to the election commissions,
okay.
and no one should preempt them, actually.
Okay. Talk about the corruption issue. The report came out that Afghanistan ranks 181 out of 182. The narcotics trade is enormous, indicating an inability of the government to control revenues, and another byproduct of that is a huge amount of money floating around funding insurgents and warlords, etc. That is another reason why people here are weary. The reports of this are troubling.
No, the reason that you are in Afghanistan, the reason that the international community is in Afghanistan is to build the government institutions. One problem is bad governance, but the most important problem in Afghanistan is absence of government. There are many areas of Afghanistan that we are not present physically. Of course, the revenue will not be collected from these areas, or these areas will be, the rule of law will not be implemented. But the real issue is how to build the government institutions to provide protection and services to the Afghan people. And that's the undertaking that we are doing it together. You are helping us out with many other countries from Europe. So to give credit to what's been accomplished to the international community and blame actually the shortfalls on the Afghans is unfair. Jointly, we had a lot of accomplishments. Jointly, we are facing some serious challenges that we have to overcome. And the issue of corruption, we have heard very clearly the message of the Afghan people, of the international community, of our own people. We are working on this very hard, and that's for sure. And the money that's been created from narcotics do actually enhance